So the topic for today is the need for a spiritual teacher. Many of us believe, I think, maybe now not, but many of us believe that when we take discipleship, we are taking discipleship with a human form, with a human being. When we take discipleship with any one of this line of gurus, we say, oh, we are the disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda. No, I am a disciple of Babaji, or I am a disciple of Christ or Krishna. And to an extent, it's true, of course, that we are their disciples. But is it the complete truth? All of us recite this mantra, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parbrahm. What does this really mean? That inside the Guru is this flow of divine consciousness. He is the Sakshat Parbrahm. He is not just that human form. And Yogananda himself said that I killed Yogananda a long time ago. No one dwells in this body but God. And he would make it a point with all of his disciples that he would always direct his devotion, that they would direct to him, the devotion, the love that they would give him. He would always direct it towards God. One of his closest disciples was Daya Mata. And Swami Kriyananda, in his book, The New Path, he talks about an incident with her. So she came to Yogananda when she was young, she was probably a teenager, and she developed this love for him as a daughter would for a father, and he also gave her that love of a father. But once she was firmly rooted in the path, he said, I think a little bit of attachment did come in human terms of loving a father. Then at that time, Yogananda started becoming a little aloof. He started to become a little stern. And one day when he was particularly so, that time Daya Mata was a little hurt, and she went out and she meditated and she tried to get a deeper understanding of what the Guru was trying to do. And when she meditated, after the meditation, she just prayed that, Divine Mother, from now on, I will love only you. And when I see my Guru, I will behold only you. And she said it was as though a weight had lifted from her. And when she came back, and she was in the night, she would say goodbye to her Guru before retiring. And she bowed to him. And Yogananda then smiled kindly at her. And he said, very good. And from that time onwards, he started to again becoming his old affectionate self with her. In the beginning of the spiritual path, when we start off, it is difficult to relate to that God, to that infinite spirit which is formless, which is all pervading. Then it is at that time, it is said in the scriptures that God comes to us in the form of a Guru, so that we can relate to him in human terms, which our human mind can understand. As a father, as a mother, as a friend, we can talk to him, we can question him, we can feel him very close to us, even follow his day-to-day life as an example of right action, follow his guidance, till we can start to then understand finally the nature of that infinite spirit, that God which resides within the Guru. And the scriptures also say that what we meditate on, we become. So we meditate on the Guru. What are we really meditating on? Not just his form. We meditate on also the qualities, that consciousness that exists within him as divine peace, divine love, joy, compassion. And we start to allow these qualities to take root within us. That is why it is very important to tune into the consciousness of the Guru. And they say just by being in his consciousness, like a magnet, his consciousness starts to change us completely from within. It uplifts our consciousness. till we start to also finally merge into that consciousness. And why is it so important to be that open, that receptive, and tuning into his consciousness? It is actually very important for us because then he takes 100% responsibility of our life. And what does that even mean? We think we know ourselves, but we really don't know, because he is the epitome of wisdom. He is the epitome of clear understanding, while our understanding, our wisdom is a little clouded by our tendencies, by our vrittis. He can clearly see what we really need, and he can give us that guidance. There was a disciple of Yogananda, and he would seem to have some random accidents all the time. And he mentioned this once to Yogananda, and he thought he would get a sympathetic answer, but that was not to be. Yogananda said, that is happening because you have a careless attitude. And this disciple was taken aback because many of those accidents clearly had nothing to do with him. He was sometimes just parked and somebody would randomly come from behind and bang into his car. So he was very disappointed with that answer, yet of course he trusted implicitly his guru. So he went and meditated on what this could be, what this could mean. And then he finally decided that I need to change my attitude. And he started to change that careless attitude. And to his surprise, he saw that those accidents started to reduce and finally finished. So we ourselves don't know. We think we are like this and we think like that, and this is, what we really are. But a lot of times that is just, clouded by our likes and dislikes. And only the clear understanding and wisdom of the Guru can start to help us. In fact, a lot of times we feel that the scriptures, the religious texts perhaps, they are enough. But are they really enough? It's the Guru who is the living scripture, and he comes and tells us, what do these scriptures really tell us? What are these scriptures really meaning? Again, in Conversations with Yogananda, Swami Kriyananda relates an incident where he says that a fundamentalist Christian came to Paramhansa Yogananda, and she said that you must be saved by the blood. She said it very fervently, and equally fervently, Yogananda tells her, produce a quote. And she is like shocked, because she obviously also did not really have a clear understanding of what she was quoting. She was just quoting what she probably had heard mindlessly. So the Guru gives us a very practical, a very common sense approach to our own quest of truth, and removes all those untruths that just come onto the path. Krishna says that in the Gita that I am giving you this yoga again, which has been given from the beginning of time, but I have to bring it again because with the passage of time it gets polluted. And that's exactly what happens. And we need a living Guru like Krishna, like Paramhansa Yogananda, to clarify it for us. In the beginning of the years in America, Yogananda somebody came to him and said that people were claiming immortality, probably just to get a following. And Yogananda very clearly advised, really, if they are like that, look for the signs of aging. Just don't believe them just like that. Are they turning grey? Are their hair turning grey? Are they, getting wrinkles in their face? Because when the time comes for them to prove their claim to you, they will be enjoying the astral world, and they will not have to face all of you that they hoodwinked. So a Guru gives a very, very practical and common sense approach to our spiritual life. Not just believing anything because somebody says it very grandly or gloriously. In fact, having walked the path, he knows all the pitfalls and he can guide us, so that we do not make those mistakes, those obstacles that arise on the path, we can easily overcome them. In fact, Yogananji used to say always that do not worry about the mistakes that you make. Never give up on yourself, because I will never give up on you. In fact, in a letter to his disciples, he writes, I will give you lots and lots of my good karma so that you will always come through. And this promise that he gives us, that we will always have his help, that he will never give up on us, that is not just for this one lifetime, but for several lifetimes. You must have heard that story about Swami Dhirananda, who was his childhood friend. He knew that Swami Dhiranand was going to betray him later on in life. In fact, he tells a friend also that he will betray me and he will marry a white woman. But did he give up on him? Dhiranand had been his disciple for many lifetimes, despite his own guru, Sri Yukteswar Ji, telling him, gently hinting that this person will not come on the spiritual path that easily. Still, Yogananji continued to help him, called him to Mount Washington, his center, and made him a teacher there. And finally, he does betray him. But then but Paramhansa Yogananji never gives up again, and he keeps sending a very sweet story. He keeps sending him a crate of mangoes every mango season, which Swami Dhiranand returns unopened, unfortunately. So the guru, when we sign up for discipleship with these gurus, we are doing 100% commitment. We may not really realize it so, but we will learn over the years what it means to be completely committed to a guru. However, the guru has committed 100% to us. And in his loving support, in his divine love, our consciousness continues to grow till finally we find that divine love, we find that infinite God and have final union with him. Thank you.
Our topic for today, like Vasudha mentioned, is the need for a spiritual teacher, or do we need a guru? That's a question that we often ask, or people often ask, do I need a guru? Do we need a guru? And when people hear stories like the one I'm about to relate about gurus, they say, no, I don't need a guru, because they cannot fathom, they cannot understand why sometimes a guru behaves in certain ways. And there is a story of Paramhansa Yogananda, that when he was in his ashram in America, he had a woman disciple, she was a nun, who was staying in his ashram. And one day she came to him and said, Master, my mother is growing old, and ought I to go out and make some money and, take care of her? And he looked at her and he said, get out, right now, leave, you're not needed here. And he was so strong and so dismissive that she burst into tears. And she immediately said, I'm so sorry, my place is here with you, and I'll just practice faith that God will take care of me. And like I said, when you hear such stories sometimes, you say, okay, maybe that's not the guru for me. Because there is strength, there is power. But really, if we understand the story in the proper context, we will realize that always, everything a guru does is rooted in love. Everything. And it's like a mother and a child. When I was young, I remember a funny story, sort of funny, at least for me, not for the ones who were involved in it maybe. But when I was young, I was in first grade perhaps, and my elder sister was in third grade. And she went to school one day, and she had a best friend, Rachita. So school ended and it was 1:30 or so, and they were walking along to their respective buses. They were going to different buses. And my sister tells her friend, hey, so you're going home? She said, yeah, of course, chutti ho gayi, I'm going home. She said, should I come along with you? And Rachita said, sure, yeah, sounds like a fun plan, come. So my dear sister, she doesn't tell anyone in her bus, She doesn't tell anyone in the school. She just joins her friend on her bus, goes to her home. She's enjoying, lunch with her family. And here on this side of Delhi, my mom, she's at the bus stop and it's 1:30 and she's like, where is Gorja? And the bus comes and the driver says, ma'am, she wasn't in the bus. And she calls the school and they say, she's not here. And suddenly all hell breaks loose. And we're like, where is the child? Is she lost? Has she been kidnapped? And how these thoughts come in this moment. And there was a suspense for an hour or two till finally, her friend's parents called my mom and said, no, don't worry, she's here and we'll send her back, which they did. Now, she was about to come home and I could just see my mom was just fuming. And I was like, there are fireworks going to happen today. And sure enough, my sister walked in the door and that is the most outstanding beating I've ever seen in my life. Just epic. It was just like, beating her, spanking her left, right and center, screaming, wailing for an hour. And I was so scared looking at my mom. It was like Goddess Kali had descended into her. And I just hid. I kept my 30 feet distance. I was like, lest she see me and she remembers something I did, better stay off the scene. But really, that was an expression of love. Hard to imagine. But would it have been love to say, koi baat nahi, no problem, Gorja, these things happen. It's okay once in a while if you feel, go to this friend's home, that friend's home, don't inform anyone. Would that be love on the part of the mother? No. This was an expression of love. Because the mother will go to any extent to protect her child, isn't it? Any extent. Even if it means trying to save the child from himself, right? Because the child is ignorant, he doesn't know what is right, what is wrong, and so protect the child from himself, from herself. The guru is just like that. And that's the point I'm trying to make. He's like a mother, she's like a mother, but so much more. It's like the love of a million mothers is condensed in one guru. And with our human minds, we just cannot fathom that. And in that story with that nun, when Yogananda told her, get out, he was giving her the same treatment that, the mother gave the child. Because sometimes, the mother just sees the scene in front of her. This child made this mistake. The guru just sees across lifetimes. And he sees, this is my child. And what he's or she is contemplating, what she's thinking, what she's suggesting is going to bring her pain and sorrow and suffering. And I will try my best not to let that happen. And he will also go to any extent to protect his child. And sometimes, in order to do that, he or she has to be very, very strong. Right? And so that is why sometimes we don't understand these things. But Swami Kriyananda would say that whenever Yogananda had to scold him, which sometimes happened, Yogananda ji had to scold even Swami Kriyananda, he said he always saw in Yogananda's eyes deep regret. Deep regret that he had to speak that way, that he had to be angry. But Swami said he was never touched. He felt bad, but he was never touched by that. And there was one other disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda who, it was a very complex karma. We were just reading this story yesterday. And Yogananda told him, he said, if you leave now, because this disciple again, some delusion came and they were thinking of leaving. And Yogananda told him, if you leave now, you will need 200 lives. 200 lives to come back to the same point where you are today. And unfortunately, the disciple left because that was, the power of Maya or their own karma, their weakness. But I think it was the same disciple who some time later came back, not to the path, but he was feeling so bad that he came back to see his guru, Paramhansa Yogananda. And when he came to the ashram, he was heartbroken. And he sat with Yogananda and he was really crying because he said, why did I ever leave? Why did I ever leave? Because he had experienced so much sorrow since then. And Yogananda ji, seeing his grief, also started weeping. And he was really sad. He couldn't help him. He had tried, but he too shared in his sorrow. And this is just, again, these stories, one very stern, the other, his heart had melted. But both of them, he was a mother. Every guru is just like a mother. And all the disciples are the children. And they will do whatever it takes to protect the child. And sometimes, as we may have seen in our own lives, it takes a bit of shaking. It takes that blow of fate, of karma, something the guru gives us which is too much to handle. It takes that to shake us out of a direction that we are trying to go in, which is not going to be good for us. So do we need a guru? Well, Swami Kriyananda, when people would ask him that question sometimes, and interestingly, Swami had dedicated, as we know, his entire life to serving his guru. But people would ask him, "Sir, do I need a guru?" And Swami would say, "Why?" He said, "Why? Why do you need a guru?" He said, "Why do you need someone telling you do this, do that, behave in this way, don't?" He said, "No, of course not. You don't need a guru." And then Swami would pause. And then he would say, "Unless you want to find God. Unless you want to find God, then you absolutely need a guru." But people can take that answer, let's say people who don't have a guru, and they can be like, "Phew, okay, I'm off the hook. I'm not looking for God. I don't need a guru." But really, as I was thinking about this, I thought, what is everyone in the world looking for? What is it? Isn't it happiness? Every one of us, whether we are on a path or not, we all want happiness. We want to be happy, and we don't want sorrow, we don't want pain, we don't want suffering. But really, how many people in the world are happy? Really, honestly, how many people in the world truly have happiness that doesn't go away with passing scenes, with passing things? Very, very few. I mean, even all of us, being on a spiritual path, it takes a certain effort to come to the point where we are happy all the time, or even most of the time. So very few people even have that happiness that they are looking for, right? And who are the ones who are really happy in this world? The saints, isn't it? It's the saints and the sages and the gurus, the enlightened beings who are happy. It takes a man to be crucified, we know Christ, to be on the cross, and for him to say, "Forgive these people, Lord, they don't know what they're doing." I would call that the height of happiness. That you have a happiness within you that cannot be affected even if people are killing you, isn't it? And so it's the saints who have that happiness that every single man, woman, and child is looking for in this world. And so I say, who needs a guru? I would say everyone in this world needs a guru. Because everyone is looking for happiness, right? But people may not feel the need for a guru. Everyone who's out there looking for happiness may not feel the need for a guru. Why? Just because in their search for happiness, they're still at a point where they haven't come to the point where they realize that the things of the world are not giving them the happiness, the real joy, the one that stays, the happiness that always stays. They haven't reached that point. But the day they do, they realize, I've tried this and I've tried that, and it's not bringing me happiness. Where is true happiness? And then they ask the next question. Who is happy? And who can give me that happiness that doesn't go away? Right? And so that's where the guru comes in. And so I say everyone in the world needs a guru. They don't know it yet, but they will at some point. And the guru, like the mother, is just waiting, just very patient. Yogananda ji might have disciples who will come to him 100,000 years from now, right? Who are still sleeping. They will go through incarnations of their own experiences till they one day call in sincere yearning and say, "I want happiness, I want joy. Where is my guru?" And he knows that right now. and he's waiting, just like a mother. So let's just keep these things in mind, that we have a guru or we don't have a guru. It's a principle that God has put into motion in the universe. And if we have a guru, let's hold on to the guru. Not like a disciple, that is a word, but Swami would often say the word in India they use for a disciple is chela. He would like that word, chela. It's a child. The disciple is the guru's own child. And if we approach the guru in that way, like we approach our mother, then we can say, you can scold me sometimes or many times if you want to. And because of the scoldings, the love doesn't reduce. Have any of you gotten a similar beating like I was describing from your mothers for things you deserved? Yes? Seeing raised hands, yes. Did that make you love your mother less? Yeah. And so that's the key. So let's remember, whatever the Guru sends, it's an expression of his love. Let's be grateful for it, and our lives will change. Thank you.